So here's the book I wrote, UFOs Over Colorado. I dug real deep into various UFO organizations, contacted a bunch of UFO researchers, got some original cases of my own, and let's just start digging into what I think are the top 20 Colorado cases. And next case I want to talk about, I chose for number 13, is a massive wave which occurred over the city of Denver on August 9th, 1965. Here's a photo of Denver circa this year. And this wave sort of came to the attention of investigators when the local newspapers started receiving a flood of calls. The Denver Post began around 5:50 p.m. when a teenager by the name of Bill Lamberton was driving with two passengers down Mississippi Avenue when he saw a cylindrical shaped object hovering momentarily, and it darted westward over the mountains. He says the object was in view for about 6 seconds. And this was just the first sighting. These UFOs kept coming back and flying over the city. Next sighting occurred at 9:15 p.m. when Randy Holmes, another teenager, saw a bright yellow cigar-shaped object moving over the horizon, and he watched it from his residence on Everett Street. 40 minutes later, Don Storez, age 81, observed it from Greenwood Boulevard. As he says, it was coming from the north at a very high rate of speed and going straight north. It covered 3/4 of the sky in just a few seconds and disappeared in a red glow. By this point, the Denver Post was receiving, their phone was ringing off the hook, reporting sightings. Another report came at 10:05 p.m. Mrs. Osdale said, "We picked up a UFO with our binoculars. At first it went to the right, and after a while it came back very fast and stood there for a few minutes. It appeared to be dome-shaped with a red and green light on its edge, like a headlight on a car, and very luminous. Normally, if I hear someone say a red and green light, I think plane. But in this case, it's clearly not a plane if it's hovering in place and has a dome shape and darting very quickly. I think sometimes UFOs mimic planes on purpose. So perhaps that's what was happening in this particular case. But it was just 5 minutes later when Barbara Fisher saw multiple UFOs moving southward over Buckley Field at Buckley Air Force Base. And 15 minutes later, Don Turkins watched an object from his home on Independence Street. He described it as cone-shaped with a dome on top and the lights changing from yellow to red to green. Was seen 5 minutes later from another witness on Tennyson Street. And this gentleman, his name was Mr. Speaks, he told reporters, "My wife and I and our neighbors saw a light over by the North Star, and it disappeared over the mountains towards Boulder." So this sighting just went on and on. Another sighting at 11 p.m. by William McCall and his two daughters. They observed 3 red glowing objects clustered closely together. As he says, they separated and circled over the city from southwest to southeast. And 10 minutes later, the last recorded sighting came in from Vaughn Andel. He was a high school math teacher who was jogging around the school track when he saw this white luminous flash in the south sky. And he says it was considerably larger than any commercial aircraft and was at least the size of the football field I was running around. So the Denver Post, after receiving all these reports, actually contacted the NORAD and the tracking center at Colorado Springs, and a duty officer told them that they had no explanation for the sightings and said, quote, "We're not in the UFO business," which is kind of disingenuous, I think. I'm pretty sure that they were aware of what's going on. They told the Post that they were probably observing the Echo 2 satellite, which is kind of a ridiculous explanation. But what I like about this sighting and why I included it on this list is because this is sort of typical UFO behavior. Normally UFOs are very evasive, but sometimes they put on what are clearly displays, what I think is sort of a publicity stunt to announce their presence and let people know that UFOs are real. So I'm fairly certain that they were showing themselves on purpose, because this is typical of your sort of UFO wave where I think they're announcing their presence. I really do.